What do you make of what's happened in the last 24 hours? I mean, a lot of people saying it wasn't a question of if, it was a question of when. Is that how you see it?
Pretty much, yes. As Bill Burns, the head of the CIA, said recently at the Aspen Security Forum, Putin believes that revenge is a dish best served cold. I would say that he's served it lukewarm in this case, because it's only 8 weeks and since the attempted coup by Prigozhin. What he has done in one act is to decapitate Wagner. You pointed out that Dmitry Utkin was also on the plane. That's very important because Utkin was extremely influential organizationally behind the scenes. Indeed, his call name was Wagner, and that was what gave them the name Wagner in the first place. But at the same time, on Tuesday, we got confirmation that Sergei Surovikin, who was the commander of the Russian aerospace force, has indeed been sacked. And he was suspected, well, he was close to Prigozhin and was suspected of helping Prigozhin during the coup attempt. And so that danger, that boil, as far as Putin is concerned, has been lanced, because it's very unlikely that the Wagner troops, scattered as they are now in Belarus, in Russia, in Ukraine, and of course in Central Africa, will be able to cohere into any sort of a force that that threatens Putin. Putin was visibly weak after the coup attempt, and he needed to work pretty quickly on re-establishing his authority. Otherwise, things could have spiraled out of control.
And do you think that's what he's managed to do with this action, if he is indeed responsible? I'm not sure if there is a question mark over that.
Well, it's certainly the way that the plane has come down, seems to suggest that it was hit by something rather than having mechanical failure. And so it's an obvious inference that Putin would have ordered this. He certainly, as I said, lanced the boil for the moment. But there is more discontent in Russia than is apparent on the surface. And clearly he is struggling to keep his elite happy. And so I would say that in the short term, he is strengthened, but in the midterm, he still looks weaker than he was, significantly weaker at the point compared to the point when he launched the invasion of Ukraine. He also has to watch out for black swan events, the low probability but high impact. For example, a breach in the Russian defenses in Ukraine. If that were to happen, Putin would be scrambling, and his economy is quite weak at the moment as well.
And having studied Putin as you have, why do you think he chose such a sort of obvious assassination, as it were? And will there be, I mean, obviously they've called a criminal inquiry. I mean, and I'm not sure that we hold out much hope for the veracity of its conclusions, but nevertheless, I mean, there are other ways in which he could have got rid of Prigozhin, aren't there? I mean, it's been written about today, in all the UK press, and I'm sure elsewhere. Roger Boys was on my colleague Matt Chorley's programme earlier and sort of talked about it being written about as a sort of Mafia-style hit. But there is a sense of that about it.
There is, I mean, it's one mafia boss taking out another mafia boss who has challenged him. Remember, I mean, he can go through the motions of the criminal investigation, but he's sending an important message here. He's saying, even if you're Prigozhin, even if you control over 25,000 troops, even if you're very popular in Russia amongst the military bloggers and the hardliners, I do not care. I will take you out if you dare challenge my authority. And that is, for that, the message has to be public. It has to be very, very clear that he is not going to tolerate this type of opposition to him.